Hello everyone, welcome back to Hank's Movie Ranks. It's going to be the second video on the channel. In the first, of course, we did the 2025 Best Picture nominees, the most recent years, lineup and ranked those. And continuing on that trend, in this video, as you can tell by the title, I'm going to be doing the 2024 nominees. So last year's Best Picture nominees, ranking those 1 through 10. This is, of course, the year of Barbenheimer, which was probably the biggest movie combo event ever, honestly. And along with those, there's another 8 movies that make a very good variety for this lineup here. And I think it's got a very good mix of different biopics, longer dramas, comedy. It's kind of got everything that you could want in a lineup here. So I think it's a really strong lineup overall, maybe a little bit better than even this most recent year's one. And with that being said, let's just jump right into it. Coming in at number 10, I have Maestro. Maestro is a fine film. It's better than the number 10 rank from this most previous year, but it's also kind of whatever. Bradley Cooper is clearly trying to make the movie that can get him an Oscar, and with that, you get a lot of great technical elements. It looks fantastic with the black and white cinematography. Him and Carey Mulligan give great performances as Leonard Bernstein and his wife. Just the issue for me here is that I'm not super enthralled by learning about the life of Leonard Bernstein. He was a famous conductor, so it's kind of that musical biopic formula, and I didn't really know about him before hearing about this movie, so I just inherently, don't have as much intrigue of wanting to know about this public figure as someone who would be more popular and more well-known by me. And when you have something like that, it can still work. You just have to have something in the movie that kind of draws you in with the story and makes you kind of lock into what you're watching. And for me, this movie just never really did that. It never really felt like it showed Leonard Bernstein, like it showed interesting moments of his life, but it never made anything seem like that entertaining where it kind of gripped me and kept me attentive towards this movie the whole time and wanting to know what's going to happen next in this guy's life. And especially when I didn't really know what happened next in his life, and I still wasn't that pulled into the idea of oh, what is going to happen. So I think there's a lot of great on the camera here. I think it looks great. There's some great scenes in it, and performances and all, but it just overall kind of wasn't the most interesting one to me, and it kind of was a tough one for me to get into just because it never really pulled me in. And so narratively, I think it just wasn't as strong as a lot of the other ones on this list. Moving on to number 9 is going to be a big one here in Poor Things. Poor Things is fairly divisive, I guess. Maybe I'm just saying that because I have it ranked lower, and I know there are a lot of people who have this as their favorite of the year, and I, again, can totally see why that would be. It's probably the best looking movie out of the 10 here. The production, design, and costumes and everything makes this really interesting kind of setting throughout that is very fun to look at and kind of go through this world. And Emma Stone gives maybe the greatest performance of her career, and that's coming from a guy who loves the movie La La Land. So seeing her give this performance is fantastic. She fully commits to her role and was totally deserving of winning the Best Actress award this year. There are a lot of great things here, as I mentioned. It's just some of the stuff narratively, again, I'm not that enthralled by. It's kind of a look into a woman finding herself throughout the movie. The basic premise is that a woman who has died is basically Frankenstein's babied and implanted a baby brain into an adult body. And there is some kind of interesting elements with that, of course, where it's oh, that's an intriguing idea where you can go a lot of ways with it. But one of the main things for me is how she tries to go on this kind of these sexual escapades and all that. And while obviously it makes sense for someone who's going through and experiencing all this stuff to be curious with that, it's kind of weird where half an hour prior you see her walking around like a toddler and mumbling like she's a baby, and then 45 minutes, 30 minutes later in the movie, she's having sex with some guy. It's just a little off-putting in a way, I guess. But I can also see the argument of how it's, oh, she's developing faster, obviously, because this baby brain's put into the adult. And like I said, I mean, there's great stuff here. It looks amazing. Emma Stone's great. Again, there's just some stuff in the story where I was kind of like, whatever. It's not the most interesting aspect to me. So, in a very strong lineup here, I have it at number 9. Going to number 8 now, we have The Zone of Interest. The Zone of Interest is kind of a weird one to rank because it's very experimental and like sensory as a movie. A lot of this film is based on its sound, and its success really comes from just kind of the eeriness and the setting of it all. And the basic premise here is that it's just a family study looking at this German family and their kind of day-to-day lives that they're living in this amazing house that they have. But through it all, it's in the backdrop of Auschwitz, as the father is one of the lead like generals of Auschwitz for the German military. And so it's a very weird movie where it takes this premise of basically just kind of a family movie and them just living their lives and having a fun time. And in the background of it, while they're having a pool day, you'll hear screams and gunshots coming from Auschwitz. So it's a very interesting look at just like how harrowing and scary that time was and how like messed up of a world it can be, and kind of telling that story through, like I said, just this kind of run-of-the-mill like happy-go-lucky family is really weird. And then they do dive deeper into some of the like characters and give their character studies, and the final shot of this movie where the dad is kind of like thinking about what he's really doing and kind of looking introspectively. It's weird because it makes you sympathize with him a bit, but also he's done all these disgusting acts. So it's just kind of looks at the very interesting kind of psyche of people and how people live and things that they feel like they have to do, even if they're horrible. But yeah, so like I said, it's a very interesting look at this just terrible time in history, but told through a very interesting way. Going down to number 7 now, I have Killers of the Flower Moon, Martin Scorsese's 3+ hour long epic film here about the Osage murders. Another one where back to back here, it's kind of a story about how can people be this evil. Robert De Niro plays kind of the main evil villain here, a evil businessman who's killing off these natives to get their money and get their oil money and everything, and just seeing all the ways he deceives people, it's just makes you feel really gross seeing that, but it's great performance from him, and then also obviously from our lead Leonardo DiCaprio here, playing even the kind of sneakier villain in here, as his wife is someone that they're targeting, and while he does show that he loves his wife, it doesn't prevent him from trying to hurt her and the rest of his family to get the inheritance from them. And then Lily Gladstone as that lead wife is fantastic here. Her and Emma Stone were going back and forth throughout the year for Best Actress, and that is completely warranted, as she's great here. But like I said, it's another kind of look at these evil times and how greedy man can get. And Scorsese obviously does great here directing, which comes as no shock. Granted, it's Martin Scorsese. There's certain aspects that I have a little bit lower on this list. For me, I usually love courtroom type stuff, and the courtroom aspects of this one I'm not as big of a fan of. I think it kind of halted some of the momentum here, especially like Brendan Fraser's character, for example. I think he's a great actor. He won Best Actor the year prior to this movie, but his character is like so bombastic as the lawyer here, and it just is really out of place in this film, so it's kind of random. So I feel like in that area it kind of halts the momentum a bit, and as I mentioned, it's over 3 hours, almost 3.5 hours, and while I don't usually have a problem with longer films, you'll see that later on in this list alone, This one kind of feels like, as I mentioned, where it halts the momentum later and on. Because of that, as the movie gets longer and longer, you feel the length a little bit more. Um, so that's why, as a whole, it's a little bit lower on this list compared to, again, a very strong lineup of 10 here. But yeah, overall, I mean, it's Martin Scorsese with Robert De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio. It's not going to be bad. It's still great. It's just a little bit lower compared to some of the other options. Number 6 now, I have Past Lives. Past Lives is one where in probably most other years, I would have it a lot higher than number 6. This is a great film directed by Celine Song. Tells the story of two Korean children who are like best friends, and as they start to get a little bit older, are kind of starting to develop feelings towards each other. But then the girl's family moves to America, and it then picks up with them in college as they kind of reconnect and have a spark again. But then it kind of fizzles out and life moves on. And then it comes back to when they're adults and the boy is visiting America for a week. And it's just kind of a look at life and how different decisions lead to different outcomes, and how in this film, our lead woman, now she's married with a husband, but when this guy comes back to America and visits, it's like, it brings up these questions of, oh, what could have happened if this was the life I chose? And so it's a very interesting look, just kind of introspectively of thinking about life and love and just kind of the people you surround yourself with. So it's really well done. It's from everything you want, from kind of a romantic comedy, drama. It's got all those aspects that you want, with the kind of the heartwarming moments, the sad moments. It's got great dialogue that goes back and forth. And then the ending of this one is absolutely fantastic. So it's really just a great watch all the way through. And I would definitely recommend this to anybody who would want to watch it. And that being said, it's still number 6 because it's a great lineup, and there are 5 amazing movies that are still ahead of it. Moving on to number 5, I have The Holdovers. So The Holdovers tells the story of Divine Joy Randolph, Dominic Sessa, and Paul Giamatti's characters, who are kind of the caretaker of a boarding school, a student, and the teacher, respectively. And they're the holdovers because they're the people who, over Christmas break, have to stay at the school and are held over there. And especially Paul Giamatti's teacher character and Dominic Sessa's student are really at odds with each other. But if I had to describe this movie in one word, it would be heartwarming, just because as they start off with this kind of animosity towards each other, they all have their problems going on outside in their lives, and they all kind of band together to make this kind of found family in a way between the 3 of them. And it's just a really heartwarming watch. It's a perfect Christmas movie. It's got all the different emotions that come up around that holiday and from movies about that holiday. And it's great performances. Dominic Sessa's great here, especially in his first ever movie role, I believe. Paul Giamatti was great, and Divine Joy Randolph won the Best Supporting Actress award for this movie that year. So they're all great here. It's just kind of a classic, old school feeling movie. And it just, yeah, like I said, is really heartwarming. Gives you all those moments that really bring out the emotions, and it's just a really strong film overall. Moving on to number 4, this is probably the actual most divisive film on this list, as I'm sure there's plenty of people who have it 10. There's plenty of people who have it number 1, and that's one half of the Barbenheimer here, and that will be Barbie. The first time I watched it, I was kind of meh on it. That might have to do with the fact that I did do the actual Barbenheimer double feature when I first saw them both in the theaters, and Barbie was the second one I watched of that double feature. And as you can tell by the fact that it hasn't been listed yet, I still think Oppenheimer is a much superior film to that, so I feel like maybe it was diminished a bit as seeing it directly after such a strong movie. And so I kind of had it assumed it would be in the middle to the lower half originally on this ranking. And then when I rewatched it before the Oscar ceremony of that year, I was like, oh, this movie's actually pretty great. It's hilarious, I think. Ryan Gosling is great in this. I love him in pretty much every movie he's in. He's one of my favorite actors, and he's absolutely hilarious in this one. Margot Robbie obviously is great as our lead Barbie here. Obviously, there's a lot of themes in this one that like I can't relate to that much, as it's a lot about exploring what kind of life and struggles women have in today's society. I don't really get to see that firsthand. So some of the themes I obviously personally can't relate to as much, but I still think they do a great job of telling those themes and those messages that they want to send. And like I said, I think this one's just really fun. Sometimes with movies, you just want to have a good time and enjoy it and laugh. And I did that a lot when I'm watching Barbie. So this gets the biggest improvement of first to a second watch. So it's up here at number 4. Coming in at number 3, I'm going to have American Fiction. American Fiction tells the story of Jeffrey Wright's character, Thelonious Monk. And it's kind of a satirical look at society and how he navigates it as an African-American writer. It takes a very possible situation in common society and kind of dramatizes it to the fullest extent, and that brings a lot of comedic elements to it. The script here is great. It won adapted screenplay, as I believe it should have. And then Sterling K. Brown in the supporting role as Thelonious' brother is also fantastic. And it's a very just interesting look at how Thelonious is struggling to get his books published, and it's because it ends up being that they're not black enough. And this is kind of shown by a different African-American author in the movie, and her book titled We Lives in the Ghettos, and it being super popular, so that it tells the story of Thelonious basically as a joke writing a book where he's trying to be more black, and it ends up being a huge hit for him. So then he has to kind of balance this double life, in a sense, of this fake persona he's putting on and the type of stuff he still actually wants to be writing, and his personal life and all the issues that are going on there, and his dating life and everything. So kind of having to balance both sides. As I mentioned, the script is great. The acting in this one is also fantastic. And I think it's just a really fun ride all the way through. I really enjoyed this one. This is one that kept my attention the whole time. The ending is left kind of a little ambiguous, and I think maybe could have been wrapped up slightly better. But as a whole, I really don't have many problems with this one. I think there's a lot of great aspects to it, and that's why I have it up here in the top 3. Moving on to number 2, it's going to be Anatomy of a Fall. Anatomy of a Fall is told mostly in the French language here, but it goes back and forth a little bit between French and English. It tells a story about the kind of interworkings of figuring out how the husband of our main female lead, Sandra Hula's character, fell off of his balcony, and wondering if it was an accidental thing or if he was pushed or whatnot by his wife. And then there's a big trial and court scenes, and I am a sucker for some courtroom movies, so it's one of my favorite niche genres of film. So if the aspects of a courtroom drama are done right in a movie, I'm gonna like it a whole lot. And then you might think, oh, maybe that's my bias towards that genre pushing this one up. Maybe a little, but that being said, with it being this courtroom drama, it's about the best it possibly can be as a courtroom drama. This might be the best courtroom drama movie ever, so that appeals greatly to me, as I mentioned. The performances are very strong here. The directing and the screenplay, this one won the original screenplay award, are very strong. It keeps just enough mystery in it where you're trying to figure out, oh, did she do it? Is she innocent? And it never really gives you a concise answer throughout most of the film. So you're always kind of wondering. They put in all these different aspects that keep the mystery up. And I think it's just a really well done movie in every single aspect here. And that's why, for me, it's all the way up here at number 2. At number 1, I think the Academy got the award correct this year. With the winner of Best Picture, I have Oppenheimer. I believe Oppenheimer is probably the best film ever made by Christopher Nolan, and he is one of my, if not my favorite director. I have, that's out of frame over here, but I have a poster from Inception on my wall. And once Oppenheimer came out, I think that one became the new leader in the clubhouse for me as the best Nolan movie. I think this movie is pretty much just perfect. As I mentioned earlier, this is one of those other 3-hour-long movies where I don't feel like it's that long. I feel like it clips by very well. I think the pacing throughout all of it, all the different aspects of kind of it time jumping back and forth between his early life to then him actually working on and creating the bomb, to the court stuff later in the film where they're trying him, and it kind of cutting between all of it. It just makes it feel like it's really at a strong pace all the way through. Obviously, you can't talk about this movie without talking about Cillian Murphy playing Robert Oppenheimer, and him as somebody who's been in a lot of different Nolan movies, finally getting this lead performance in one, and he absolutely kills it here. He won the award for Best Actor, rightfully so, but that's not to say he's the only one that's a star in this film. Robert Downey Jr., fresh out of his Marvel days, wins the Best Supporting Actor award here, and again, fairly deserved. There's just a lot of fantastic performances in this, and then obviously it's Christopher Nolan directing. It's not going to be a bad showing of direction in any sense of the matter with him behind the camera. Yeah, I really don't think there's anything I can say that's bad about this movie. I love this movie every single time I watch it, and I think it's by far the #1 pick of this lineup of 10, and it's got probably the best scene of, or shot at least, of any film that's come out in the 2020s, with that ending shot of Oppenheimer looking off, realizing what he's done. I think it's just the perfect ending to a essentially perfect film here. And with those reasons in mind, obviously, it's going to be my #1. Shout out. I think it's the better half of the Barbenheimer, although I think they were both very strong films. So anyway, that's my ranking of the 10 for this last year's nominees of the 2024 ceremony. I have one film to catch up on for the 2023 nominees, so then that video will be coming out at some point. I also think I'm going to do a ranking of the Marvel films, as I recently saw Fantastic Four in the theater and caught up on The Marvels, which was the only one I hadn't seen yet. So I think I'll probably do a ranking of those at some point. And then I also have a couple other video ideas. As always, if you guys see this video and got all the way to the end here, leave a comment if you have any other rankings you want me to catch up on and post a video for. So, till the next one, thanks for watching.